Hello and welcome to Walford United WFC. Hello and welcome to Walford United with me, John Foster, MUFC. It's the match reaction show, Man United 0, Arsenal 2. Is it as bad as it sounds? Is it something that was kind of expecting? Was the performance slightly better? I'll be honest, I feel more better. I feel a lot more, not happier, but I don't feel as depressed as I felt. Tottenham game just really deflated me. We saw it at the pub afterwards, but Arsenal, I saw glimpses. I saw something slightly different. And hearing Skinner after the game, what he shouted to the crowd and what he's been saying in the post-match interview, I'm all right with that. I'm okay with that. So we'll talk a bit about that. We'll talk about Skinner's quotes. We'll talk about investment and also Tooney and Carey signing the contracts. We haven't done a live show yet since those announcements, so we really want to get into that as well. Stuart, Niall, John, and John in the comments, and Vicky. Nice to see you all. Nat, how you doing, mate? You okay?
I'm good, John, and I'm looking forward to this. I was really, how can you say, surprised that he said what he said, but it needed to be said, and I'm glad that he said it now. And for me, that's it. It's game on.
It's come out of nowhere in a way because he's not really spoken about investment, but I'm glad he has because all I cry out for on this show is just give us something so we can defend you. And it looks like it's not come out fighting, but potentially he has in a good way. And he's come out and defended himself. So one thing that we was saying, and we'll get into this throughout the show, we were saying, make subs quicker. And that's the only thing that I could really kind of criticise him for. But by saying what he said, at least he's kind of give his reasons why, I guess. And kind of I'll bring you in on this. First of all, how are you doing? And let's get straight into it. Talk about the subs because I think you're on a similar wavelength to me.
Yeah, I think firstly I'm doing all right, but better than we had a show on the men's channel a minute ago, and we'd actually discussed positives, which was good from a United point of view to talk positives for once. Flipping it round, let's talk about not using his subs. So yeah, I think I agree with what's been said. I think he's right to come out and say what he said afterwards. I think any manager of Manchester United, whether that's men's, women's academy, are all going to say the same thing about United and the structure at the moment. I think it just speaks volumes that I said it during the game. I would have hooked a few players off because you've got players on the bench like Bo Risa, like Ivana played well midweek, Carrie Jones played well midweek. Why are you not using them? Especially when certain players aren't performing. I said it on my match reaction that no player is avoid a criticism. If they're not playing well, hook them off. Like, there's no harm in that. And I think from what he's saying, he clearly doesn't trust his bench players. I think that's how I read it, that the fact that he doesn't make subs till so late, I don't think he trusts the players to do the job that he wants them to do. And that's why we see a similar 11 and subs so late in the game. But the thing is, exactly like what Karen said there, what is Bo Reis supposed to do in 5 minutes? You can't impact a game in 5-10 minutes, especially against Arsenal so late in the game. They're not going to make an impact that late in the game. So his interview was interesting. I'm glad he did it because it kind of gives some kind of reason. But it's I just don't think he trusts the player, which is weird because they've played well. These players on the bench are not. It's not like they've not been performing and they're on the bench because they've not performed. They're on the bench because he's not played them. Like he just doesn't, for whatever reason, he doesn't trust them to make a difference in the game.
So let's look at it the other way. And Nat, okay, I know you want to say something, so I'll bring you in. But I'll ask you this question and then you say what you want to say. Is he scared that when we think about making subs, we think, we're going to change it for the better? Is he scared that if he makes a sub, it could potentially make things worse because the players in the start 11 potentially aren't as good in his head? The subs just got to come on.
Maybe, but I don't understand how you can watch that City game and say they're not as good or they're not going to have a bigger impact. Yes, Arsenal team is different from the City team that we played, but City still had, Ellen White came on for them, Weir and all these Walsh. I don't know who they have, but they had all pretty much. The only difference was maybe like Jill Scott would play instead of that Ruby Mace. But even then, we had Emma on saying, why is Ruby not playing? Why is he playing Scott there? Makes no sense. And I don't think... I see what Connor's saying about the trust. And maybe there is some players there that he doesn't trust. But for me, if he can seriously sit there and watch Bo Risa play and Fuso and Carey, Because for me, I said it, Emma, Fuso and Carrie were the ones. Even when Carrie came on, she changed that game for me. Just Arsenal. You know, she had the drive, she had the determination, she was boxing them in. Everything that we were wanting, she did it. And then she nearly scored, to be honest. I mean, she'll be probably disappointed, but, you know, she's only a little kid. We can't rely on her that much. I agree with Connor in that there was really good passages of play at the start. I think we did well. We were attacking a bit. But, you know, there's some players there that are the first team and they're not doing good enough. And it's not just the one that everyone's sort of talking about. It's other ones as well. You know, I was a bit disappointed myself, and I'm going to go on to this, but I was a bit disappointed with Tooney and Russo. And I mean, yes, they were shrouded out, but I've seen them play better. So if Tooney's maybe not doing, bring Carrie on, bring Fuso on. Bring Fuso on the right or something and mix it up. You know, I get it. Like, these are your experienced player. You're going to go with your experienced player, playing a tough team. I don't care. Play the best players. Play the players in form. This is an issue that we had with Casey. She did it, you know, Tooney would score 10 goals in the Conti Cup and then she would be on the bench next day. Makes no sense. Play the players that are in form. Keep them playing. He wants to build them up into the game. What he said about Risa a while back, she's not ready yet. Maybe, yeah, there's time. She has to settle this and that. But for me, if Leon wanted Bo Risa, why does he not trust her? I don't think it's that. I don't know, maybe it's sort of like I said, the settle in. He wants to build Carrie up, build Ivana up, you know, not expose them like that. And I think it's different in the Conti Cup compared to maybe the main league season. So that's why he's going with the experience. But, you know, I just think I agree with what he's saying about, you know, the ones that he trusts, whatever. But we've seen this before. He needs to mix it up. He needs to do him better. And he can say this and that about, I need depth. Yeah, okay. But you have got players on there that can change the game. Believe in them and let them do it.
I agree with Susan and Carrie, definitely. I'd like to have seen them come on a lot sooner. Obviously, not so much at the moment, but that's just my opinion. Matt, let's bring you in on this one. First of all, answer this question here. Just this comment here. Hello, Nippon. We know exactly who you are. Nice of you to come across. Thank you very much. Arsenal is scary. I wasn't too scared. I mean, don't get me wrong. They were physically strong. They're very tall side. They obviously are a level above us. I completely get that. But they didn't show a lot in front of goal. I felt like that we could create chances. I wasn't overly scared of them on that game, even though they deserved a 2-0 win. What were your thoughts on that comment there, Matt?
I mean, there was a lot of talk about build up to the game, wasn't there? Oh, it's gonna be another Chelsea. I was reading from quite a lot of people who were going to get battered and all this. But to be fair, that was our biggest loss against them in 4 years. You know, we've always lost by a goal apart from Sunday. So I think from what I've watched of them this year, they're a carbon copy of the men's team. They're pass, and they're very, I think, wasteful in front of goal at times, not all the time, because obviously they're sat top of the league. And they do something that I think we're guilty of, that Mark also said in his press conference that come out today about overplaying. You know, have a habit of overplaying at times and maybe trying to walk the ball into the goal rather than getting the shot away. And listen, when they did get the shot away, they scored, barring some dodgy positioning from Mary. But I think, you know, they've got quality on the bench, and I think that's what sets them apart at the minute from everybody else. You look at who they can bring on versus who we can bring on, and they're miles apart. You know, you could argue Chelsea's probably similar, but I still think, for me, Arsenal have got a better depth. You know, if you had Mana Iribuchi, who was out, and Tobin Heath to that bench, you know, you're talking levels again, aren't you? They had to have 2 development players on there. So I think for me, I wouldn't say scary. I'd just say got the strength and depth, and they've got good players. They've got a good way of playing. They all work hard, and when they do work hard, it's all 11 players. It's not just 1 or 2 that are shining. It's most of the team. And they're not often really troubled. I think a lot of teams give them too much respect and sit back. You know, think about that Villa performance where Villa were class first half, and then second half, it just fell apart. And we've seen a few, you know, Spurs did that, didn't they? Defended for their lives. To be fair, could have gone 2-0 up. Got a point which they're probably happy with before the game, but after the game, they're disappointed. So, yeah, for me, I'm not going to use the word scary, but I think just well organised, well established, good way of playing, and just consistent. I think if you're consistent, you're always going to stand a chance, aren't you? And the fact that, we've just talked about if players aren't in form, drop them. They do exactly that. You've seen Nikita Parris start the season on fire, and then she struggled and she's been benched. Fair enough, rightly so. That's one example. So, yeah, but again, they've got the squad to do that, and they've got the numbers and they've got the quality. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on that anyway.
And just to finish off this whole substitution debate, and keep on bringing in the comments, because for me, I know we've done this show completely backwards. We're doing the substitutions before the rest of the match, but this is the one thing where we can kind of question. What's more exciting for me is Skinner's kind of answered the question before he knew that he was going to talk about it. So by talking about squad depth, so Matt, to just get your thoughts on it. Why do you think he leaves his substitutions so late? Is it a trust thing, or is it just the way he is? I don't know.
I mean, it can't be a trust. Well, I'd hope it's not a trust thing. My days, if it is a trust thing, he's barely played any of them. So how can you not trust somebody that you've not seen enough of? I can't. I mean, if he said that, then he said that. I mean, I've not.
No, he didn't say that as such.
Right.
He just said he wants more players. And more
no, I mean, if it's a thought, then perhaps. But I think for me personally, like I say, you can't say I don't trust certain players when, like I say, they've barely got minutes. I don't know. I agree with what's been said. 5 minutes. I mean, I've always said when you're making a sub that it takes them 10 to 12, maybe 15 minutes max to get into a game. Properly get into a game. So I can't work out any subs coming. So even your first sub on 8. I mean, I don't know what it was, but in the past we've had subs on 8 to 85 minutes. It's been our first sub, and you can't do that. If stuff needs changing, you need to change it and quick. For me, sort of that 55 to 65 minute is key. Whether you're sort of 1-0 down or whatever. So I think that's something that we need to look at. We need to decide who we're bringing on and what the plan is. I listened to Carla Ward's interview after their loss against City, and she was saying at halftime they changed the shape, and the reason she changed the shape was she thought in their mind after a good first half they could nick a point. Fair enough. She's tried. Okay, it's backfired, but she's tried. So we need to decide the way we're playing. What are we then bringing them subs on for? We're just bringing on for a run around for 5 minutes, or have we actually got a plan B where we're going to change something? But I just think, and I posted this in our little group before about a journalist putting about we had a defensive midfielder against Tottenham, but not against Arsenal. Now, granted, Haley's been ill. That's fair enough. But could Risa maybe not have done that job? Okay, she's not a DM. But, her alongside Stanley, quite physical, for me would have worked better. And I don't think she did anything wrong, barring giving away the ball, 2 minutes in against City. I think after that, she was, pretty top notch. So I don't know. Listen, we can't criticise too much because we've said we want to play wide. We said we want to be more clinical. We said we need to make better subs. It is a process. So I'm not going to jump on it too much, but I do agree we need to seriously sort of think going forward the process of how we're going to do it, which obviously we'll get into fully later.
For me, I think I see where Connor's coming from in the whole trust. But I think as well, because what he said about Carrie was, and remember, Fuso's only just 19, 20, only just come over. So I think in terms of these two, this is what it is. I think he wants to protect them, bring them in slowly. That's what he says about Carrie, just exposing her minute by minute. This is Fuso as well. This contract Fuso's under is her first professional contract as well. She was playing semi-professional before coming to us, I think. Switzerland's semi-professional.
Right.
So with the young ones, I think it is that. But I think what Matt says about needs better in-game management. Because what is anyone going to do? And even Carrie, what is? I know he didn't bring her on with 5 minutes, but if you did that kind of sub, it makes no sense. For me, it makes no sense not playing Fuso at all because she was good. She was driving at players. She was making mistakes. And I think when we even saw Carrie come on, that's what happened and that's what we need. John, bang on. We never looked like scoring, so why not make changes? And I think it's maybe a worry in himself. I don't know. Like you say, John, is he thinking, I make this sub, it messes up, then everyone's going to blame me? But but then it's like what Matt says. Carla Ward did a few changes. Bang, I take the blame. And that's the thing about him. I do like, I'm coming round to him. I think I said to Rich, I was 60-40. I'm actually more coming round to him with the interviews that he's giving and the way that they're playing. I can see what they're trying to do, but he needs to take the blame. And the blame will come hard because you're at Man United, yeah, but you need to take the blame because the blames come anyway because you didn't make the subs quick enough, you know? So you might as well make the change, see what happens, you know, because we didn't look like we were going to score. I mean, yes, you could say that little the chip and the Katie thing, but he didn't come off. And if we're just waiting just to make that little, you know, I didn't make subs because they made that one chance, you know, it's ridiculous. Because then when Carrie came on, bang, instant, nearly scored. So you should have put her on earlier. What she could have done with a lot more time. What Fuso could have done. But like you say, it's a process. We're all learning. I think he's learning more than ever. You know, here. I know, like, we've got Birmingham fans in and Craig's in or Josh, you know. But it's different, Birmingham, to you know, that result, they'd say, oh, well done, you know. And I think he realised the minute the 6-1 happened and he said, oh, it doesn't really matter, or whatever he said, that you can't go around saying that. Whereas at Birmingham, maybe you could. And I think that's what he's learning now. And yeah, and I agree on this. If it goes in, it's a different result. But you've got to take the risk, John. If you don't take risks, what's the point of being here?
And just before Connor jumps in, because I know Connor wants to come back to a kind of comment that I put up a little earlier. I don't even think Fuso would have been a massive risk in replace of Hansen or Galton. I think he would have given that extra bit of energy with like half an hour, 25 minutes to go. So I think for me, Carrie or Fuso, I know they're not at the quality of Galton and Hansen, but after 60 minutes, Galton and Hansen would have got a bit tired. It weren't the best game. Fuso and Carrie on form. So that for me would have been a sub. So that's one that I would have liked to have seen. Connor, I've got to put this comment up because you were speaking to me about it in the stadium, and you mentioned it to me in the past as well. Norman's point here. What are your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, it's only recently. It's the past like 3 or 4 games we started doing this, and it's fine if against smaller teams, I guess. But I'm sure other people can. I mean, just go watch the game back. It's easily noticeable. We defend in a 4-4-2 compact. The 2 wingers go alongside the 2 4, and it's really narrow. But which is fine, right? That's most teams can defend that. The one thing I don't understand is why the 2 wingers are not helping the fullbacks out defensively. Because Hannah and Honor, and I said this on my map, I feel so sorry for them because they're getting doubled up on all the time. Honor, especially on her side in the first half, was having a nightmare because she's constantly got the fullback and the left winger on her all the time. on her side all the time, and she's getting doubled up on. So the overlap is so easy because she's like, well, do I go to the player or do I watch the runner? Because I don't know who it was on her side. I think it was Hansen or like one of the wingers, but it's happening on the other side as well. So this makes me think that it's an instruction for the wingers not to help back, because I think we saw it against City as well that Skinner was telling Fuso to, and I said this to you, John, in the stadium, that he was telling Ivana to hold, which would suggest to me that they're being told to stay compact and not track and help. Now, towards the end of the first half, they did start doing it. Leah especially really started to help Hannah out on this side, which is good. She needs help. You can't just have 2 quality players doubling up on our fullback. And that's why you saw so many corners and so many crosses in the first half, because they were just left on their own. So I think if we're going to do against the smaller teams, I think it's not so much of an issue because their 2 fullbacks are not going to be high as Arsenal and City's are. But against these big teams, the wingers have got to help. I think we've kind of fixed it in the second half, but whether Skinner doesn't think they've got the energy to do it, because I do worry sometimes that we're maybe not as fit as maybe last season. And I think some of the players, and this is what I agree with you a minute ago, Hansen and Galton look shattered after 60, 70 minutes. That's where you're looking at Carrie and Ivana. They've got energy. They're on form. Bring them on 60 minutes. We were 2-0 down. We weren't looking like scoring. There's no risk, really. I'd rather have lost 3-0 and gone for it than kind of what we saw. And, I said that it was only the Katie chance and Jones had that one when she came on that we had. I don't remember us ever having another chance, to be honest. So, yeah, I just wanted to make that point because I'm glad someone else noticed it, that the fullbacks are getting, especially because they play high and wide anyway, they're expected to get forward, which is fine. Hannah and Honor get forward, but then on the counter-attack, you need your wingers to help them out because they're just going to get done, and we're going to see this moving forward. We're lucky we haven't conceded from it yet, to be honest.
Matt, I want to bring you in if you haven't froze on me. I think he has. I think you're back any second with a new with a new connection. You think he's getting there at some point. But I want to bring, I do want to bring back Matthew when he comes back, because this comment on screen, 5-0, it wasn't a bad result. One of them was a penalty. Another one was another misplaced back pass, not a back pass, but we basically gave them the ball. Miedemar was going to score. I don't think it was end of the world, and I've seen some slight difference in our performance from a positive. Go on, Nat. You jump in before.
Yeah, no, well, I know he's back, but yeah, the goal, that the first goal, and even Skinner came out and said it wasn't good enough. We didn't know whether we were going or coming or what we were doing, and I just think I actually watched it back, and I didn't see who gave the ball away. It is what it is. The ball got given away. Go in there and take her out. I just think, why are you standing off? Why are you letting her run? Go towards her.
Yeah.
Close her down properly. I know, we're not. I know you said touched on Bo Risa, but for me, I think Bo Risa and Stanley, it is that thing. She's adapting to the league. But we saw when Jackie came in, she was adapting to the league. She was just giving all the minutes. Boom. That probably helped Jackie come out and play the way that she did. I think when Jackie and Lad are fit, that's our midfield. If he's going to play the two midfield, whatever he's playing. Because for me, I can't see beyond them two. Risa might come in. But I think to not play Risa, for me, she was, for me, one of the best players, bar Carrie and Fuso, against City. Should have been playing. And I'm not saying, we would have won or would have done this, but I just think it's just a different, step up in class, I think. Because I think she wasn't brought in for no reason. And I want to see her now. It's actually frustrating me a bit with what he's doing. Like you say, these late subs, not making changes. It's the same team that we're playing. It's the same team against Everton. What do we expect to be different? And yeah, it was better. I'm not going to lie, but can't really expect much different. I think if you're just putting the same team out again and again.
Do you jump in on that one, Matt, before you lose connection? I had it last week.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't all that bad. I mean, the thing is, if you look at that City team that played against them, obviously it wasn't as bad injury-wise as it is now, but it wasn't a great City team. So, I mean, listen, considering the way Arsenal have absolutely destroyed most teams this year, listen, I'm not going to sit here and say, that I'm delighted, because I'm not. We've lost the game. But I think 2-0 is probably, on the whole, better than what people maybe expected. And that's only from reading what people have said. That's not my personal view. I still think that, I think it was John that said further up, if Katie scores that chance instead of hitting it at the keeper, it's a different game. And we might have nicked a point or might have even won it. So I think, listen, it's okay. But I don't know. Out of all the fixtures, to be fair, this month, I didn't think Arsenal would be the one where we're picking up 3 points anyway, being honest. But that said, we've cocked up against other teams. So it's one of them. It is what it is. It wasn't dreadful. Performance-wise was improved over sort of Spurs and Everton as well. But I don't want to sit here and say, performances are great if we're still losing games. Do you know what I mean? Performances can improve weekly. Till we're picking up them 3 points, it doesn't change much, does it? But yeah, we move on.
I think Matt's right. I think this result in isolation is not that bad. I think it's the two results, and maybe you can probably throw in Durham and City into this as well.
Yeah,
it's those results that have made this feel a little bit worse, because you lose to Arsenal, it happens. We've only lost to Arsenal and Chelsea this year, but it's Everton and Spurs that make this feel like we should have got a point, or we should have tried to get a point or a win, because we've dropped 4 points against two sides that we should have been beating, really. Now this feels worse. Whereas I think if we'd have won Everton and won Spurs, you go into the thing, right, 2-0, they're top of the league, they're beating everyone else, we move on. But I think it's those results that just make this feel a little bit worse than it probably is.
It's no wins in 6. Sorry, just to add that, John. So it doesn't look great if you're reading it from an outsider's point of view, does it?
No, I will come on to what that's caused in a bit when it comes to the league table. But I do just want to put 2 comments on screen that I thoroughly do agree with. So this one here, we did look more solid than against Chelsea. We was ripped apart at Chelsea. We was embarrassed. We actually kept it tight, and it looks like the Skinner and the players have learned from the mistakes on that one. in individual errors definitely costing us 100%. And then this one here as well, as Connor just pointed out, and I'll be saying it as well. The Tottenham and Everton draws, I felt more deflated than the Arsenal defeat, because at least I saw something in that Arsenal game. We'll talk about league positions and stuff shortly, and where we are and what our thoughts are on that. But before we do, I just want to talk about a couple of players. Aoife Mannion, it could have been a lot worse without Aoife getting back and making some last-minute tackles, and even I know Tyson here come under a bit of criticism, but I think what she done well was she did prevent the blocks, prevent the crosses and the shots quite a lot. She just held her position to kind of stop the attack. So even though she wasn't tackling, she slowed the play down so more of the teammates could get back into the penalty box and get their positions. So Connor, I'll bring you in first, and then Matt, jump in when you want, just to talk about how well our defence did kind of do, because that structure was there. It was very organised. I know there's a couple of misplaced passes, but that's going to happen over 90 minutes. I just thought that it could have been a lot worse if we weren't as switched on in that game.
Yeah, and it's testament to the two centre-backs, especially because what I was just saying a minute about Honor and Hannah were getting caught out because they were on their own against two players. So Maria and Aoife Mannion had to be another level because there was a lot of crosses coming in, especially in the first half. Aoife especially was covering very well on Honor's side. If Honor got beat, Aoife was there, which is brilliant. That's what you want your centre-back to do if your full-back gets beat. Same with Maria, on the other side, like you just said, she was shielding well. What I liked is neither of them, apart from the penalty, neither of them dived in. They stood their ground, and that's against top players. You just stand your ground. Don't dive in like we saw on the penalty, and there was a couple of other occasions. But the other thing I liked actually from those two, and it's something we haven't, and I don't know why we didn't do this for the rest of the game. We only seemed to do it in the first 15, 20 minutes. They were switching the play. Maria hit two beautiful long passes out to Hansen and Galton in the first half. Why we didn't carry that on, I don't know. Mannion was doing it as well up to Russo. That pass was on, and then for some reason they stopped doing it, and we started playing it short, and that's when the mistakes started to creep in, when they started playing it, because Lucy and Staniforth and Zelen weren't dropping deep to help them out, and they weren't playing it long. I don't know why, but defensively, I thought they were brilliant. I think, Aoife especially on that side, like I said, she was covering very well, and it could have been worse, if those two didn't have the games that they did. And it sounds weird, doesn't it? You can see two goals and your two centre backs are probably up there with your best performing players, and I think that's just testament to how tough of an opposition Arsenal are, and how well they had to play. We said, John, on the way up that Mary was going to have to play well, but so were the centre halves, and they definitely stepped up. Like I said, Maria was probably the shakier of the two, but I don't think she was awful. I think showed composure on the ball, especially in the first half. But yeah, I thought they did quite well together.
Mm-hmm. Nat, do you want to jump in on the defence?
Yeah, I thought Mannion, quality. I think she's been a bit, I wouldn't say suspect, but potentially you could say, she should have cleared it for the Spurs goal. I know, and then Maria should have cleared it, or whatever that mix-up was at Everton. So, there've been, times when they both would have felt they could have done better. But yeah, definitely I think Maria, she looks a little bit shaky, but for me, I think both of them were absolutely quality. I think for me, my play at all, I know we're not going to go into it, but I think Hannah Blundell as well on the wing. Absolutely different class. I mean, I know, Connor, you were talking about switching the ball. That's what we've been asking for since that City game. We've been saying it's too slow in the build-up. Why do you have to pass? Why does Maria have to pass to Aoife to then pass to Honor to then pass it out wide? It makes no sense. Yeah. Whereas, like you said, we were just seeing those diagonal balls. They can do it. I know they can do it. So that's good to see. But like I said, I even saw Hannah do a diagonal run, and that's what I want to see more of. I want to see the fullbacks pushing forward. Then I want to see the overlap. And we saw it a bit towards the end. I know in the corner where we were, they were doing a bit of overlapping, Honor and Kirsty. But then they would get to the byline and they won't cross. And I think even Mark touched about it. It's like we want to, I don't know, if we're in a position to cross, I think, it doesn't have to be right on the 6-yard line. Cross it. I know they can do it. We've seen Honor doing loads of crosses, crossed on the top of the box, but it's like they have to get in the perfect position. I don't know if this is like over-coaching or there's nervousness. I think we are always, with our team, there's always that level of nervousness sometimes, especially against the big ones. We don't play sort of as good. Yeah. So we want to get right to the byline so we can put the perfect cross in. But forget about that. Just put the cross in. Get it in quick. Quicker you get it in, more likely something will happen, you know? Shake them up, surprise them.
I think we'll start seeing that a little bit from what Skinner's kind of saying there. He's still learning this, that, and
Well, I'm so happy that you said about direct play, because I think that's what I thought he wasn't going to bring. But whether he's changed it up, decided he wants to do it a bit different, because I think we need direct play. I think that's what our team is all about. It's what Man United is about, in a way. You know, men's, women's, for all my life, it's always been get forward, attack. You know, get forward, cross the ball in, run with the ball, have a shot. You know, and I don't think we did enough shots outside the area, to be honest, in my opinion. Would have liked to seen a bit more. You know, I think there's times where Leslie was in front of the box and I thought, have a shot now, but she kept wanting to get it further and further. Same with Tooney.
Yeah.
But we know they can score from, you know, no one's asking you to do it from 30, 40 yards out. If you're 20 yards out, have a shot. Test that keeper. That keeper, you know, yes, she's been all right, but there's, you know, if she can get in amongst her and then like Tooney runs onto her, pressing her, if she spills it, bang, that's a goal. If it hits off the post, someone comes in, it's a goal. I think we need to believe in ourselves a lot more. You know, like I said, I think it's a mix of everything. I do think it you know, he's come in, they've had to adapt. They've maybe not understood what he was saying a lot, but he's sort of tried to make it simpler, I think. But I think we need change it up a bit, and then, like he said, more direct, cross the ball, but just don't worry as well. Cross the ball. If it goes out, don't worry. Try again next time. Next time you'll get it on the head. You know, I just think don't need to worry about what happens or anything like that. Obviously, yes, individual errors you don't want to make, but when you're attacking, it's about risk. It's about free flowing. You know, you shouldn't worry when you're in attack. You know, if you lose the ball, because that's what you got a defense for. That's what you got a midfield for. You know, so for me, I think I want to see them be more free up front and you know, just doing what they do best.
I think that's it for me. I've got no problem with the style of play because I trust he's kind of got an idea. But what I would like to see is every now and again, maybe after like every 10 minutes or so, for an example, he just does something different to catch the defense off guard. And I think we kind of saw that a little bit, but we want to see more of that. You know, just like a ball over the top or just something different, a bit more direct, just to spice it up a little bit. And this comment on screen I've left on purpose, and I'll bring Matt in on this one then. There was a tweet that went out, I think, either this morning or yesterday, but I think I responded to it. And I basically says that we need more strikers because we lost 5 over the summer. I've got no issues with Russo being our number 1. I've got no issues with Tooney being behind her. Got no issues with Galton and Hansen. But if they're not on form, then the goals aren't coming. If Russo and Tooney don't score, then we're not going to win the game because we need to score at least 2 goals a game. And at the moment, I can't see 2 goals coming if Tooney and Russo don't score one of them. So on this here, if you cast your mind back to like last season and you've got like a Tobin Heath in front of you or a Christian Press or an LJ, you know that potentially something could just happen. And we did have that yesterday. So if Tooney and Russo are off form, I don't think it was necessarily off form, but it wasn't working out for them. It does kind of encourage Arsenal to think to themselves, right, we're not going to concede a goal here. Let's push on and let's really go for it. And this kind of links into what the comment on screen is all about. So, Matt, I'll just bring you in on this one. I don't think our defence and midfield were played poorly. I think we probably had maybe 2 of our least impactful players were one of the front players. And I kind of agree with this comment. Do you kind of see that as well, Matt, or do you look at it like a different way?
No, I agree with the comment. I think, listen, the way it is, you know, you're talking about those players. Listen, those are magic players. I don't care if they're not the levels of Tobin Heath. Those players are more than capable. It's the way we play. Literally comes down to nothing else but the way they play. Now, for that to work the way we play, we've got Alessia up front on her own, who, bless her, runs the socks off. Nothing in behind from the 3 that are in behind. If you're playing a 1, your 3 in behind have to press. She was pressing on her own at times. You know, the pressing yesterday was not as good as it was against City on Wednesday. And that comes from everyone. I'm including Alessia in that front four, the three behind and her. I think we had one shot on target that the keeper saved that was Katie's, that if she hits anywhere else goes in. But I just the way we play, it doesn't help in terms of scoring goals. You know, like Natalie was saying, let's get the ball and cross it in. That's fine, no problems with that. It's something different. But the fact is, when we took goal kicks yesterday, if we didn't play it short and then back to Mary, which was a waste, we then whacked it long for Alessia to try and head it to who? To absolutely nobody, because nobody was within 10 yards of us. So I think from front to back, it needs looking at, because I think what we do miss is when we have the ball and we play it out from the back, we've got a Jackie or a lad that's calm and composed, that'll take the time, they'll not lose the ball, they'll pick a pass and things go forward. At the minute, we're playing two players in defensive midfield that aren't defensive midfielders, and it breaks down. But in terms of creating chances, I think for me, it's breaking down due to players out of form and not giving players the ball where they can do damage. You know, for example, Tooney against Spurs, she didn't have a great game. I don't think we got her into the game. You know, you need that pass. You need something from somebody to say, right, Tooney, go and drive. You know, look at that Leicester game. She got the ball on halfway line. Somebody gave it a, she turned and she went. She smashed one in top corner. Not saying it's as easy as that, but, you know, you need something. And I think the forward play does look disjointed at times, and it's going to look even worse against the better teams, obviously. But you know, we get away with it with like the smaller teams, or we should be. I mean, obviously, except sort of Everton. But I just feel that, and I've always banged on about a lone forward. You know, I've said it under numerous strikers, and that's not changed for me. The quality is there, but there's no support. And you know, like I think it was Nat that mentioned earlier, you know, why couldn't Fuso come on for Leah? If Leah's not performing, I'd rather have somebody that's got heart and desire, even if they're not of that quality. Same for Carrie Jones, you know, that could have been the swap, Fuso and Jones for Hansen and Leah, and tried it and saying, right, you two go and press your socks off. When you get the ball, give it Alessia, or Alessia presses, you follow up if she's been beaten. It's the dynamics of it. It's hard to sort of explain it and not go off on a mad one. But I think that for me is the issue. You know, if you're creating patterns of play and working things, I mean, Mark said we held on to the ball for too long, and I fully agree. We do overplay in the final third when we get it and seem to panic or not know what to do. And it seems like, you know, Nat said it before, there was an amount of times when Leicester could have shot. There was other players guilty of overplaying as well. Just hit the bloody ball. You know what I mean? We're not asking for much. Try it. See what happens. You know, you never know. But
and that's what happens, isn't it? When they try something, even if it doesn't work. Finney was trying long balls, and we were like cheering them because they actually tried it. That's what we want. We want them to try it. We want them to be brave and do it. Yeah, if it doesn't work, it is what it is. But I'd rather see you pick up the ball and spray a diagonal pass. Bo Risa versus City, she picked up the ball in her own half and did a through ball, and everyone went mad. And it didn't come to anything. No one scored, but it was like, oh my God, this is what we missed. We need someone to be playing these balls. That's what Jackie does best. That's what Vilda Bo Risa does best. If you watch her reel, it's all through balls. That's her, you know, key thing. We had Mia on the show before she even signed, because we knew she was coming in, and the best thing about her, she'll create chances. That's what we need, and that's it. If you have someone creating for you, then you'll score goals.
But how many times have we talked about like one simple ball? It seems to move it forward, and I've said this before. We go through two of the back four at least. You know, like I think it was you, Connor, that said, you know, Thor played a couple. Great, get it first time. Ping if it's on. It doesn't matter if it's a long ball. If the ball's on, it's a decent pass. But it seems to me that we go centre back, full back, midfield, cock it up. Whereas sometimes you just want it gone. You know what I mean? It just needs to go. Not saying long ball, but sometimes we're guilty of overplaying, and then everybody shifts across, and then you're marked. The amount of times them fullbacks are high and wide, and you just one pinged pass to their feet, let's go. Rather than give it Mannion, give it Thor, give it Blundell, give it midfield. It's gone then.
Because that's what I even saw a lot about the defending, and I didn't understand it. And I saw there was one of their players that was out wide, and we were all shifted off, and they just pulled off to the wide, and it just doesn't make sense. There's always big masses of space. Just running it, and then ping the ball. What are you waiting for? You know, that's what we need to see more of. I mean, Stanley, she did. I don't know if someone said it was some.
She played that ball to Helen, didn't she?
Yeah, but quality she just tried it.
Quality, yeah.
Just try it. What's the worst that can happen? And then we got, you know, a bit of risk that she took. Because there's no point trying to pass and make it perfect. Fuck it, just put it over the top.
Killer
What's
pass
the
rather
worst
than
that
a
can
pocket
happen?
pass. Yeah.
You know? And then, like people are saying now, Carrie brought some energy. Yeah, she did, because they're youth. Youth just don't care, you know? You can't tell youth to not to run and not to do this. They'll do it, especially with the crowd on them. Boom, that's it. They're doing it. And, you know, I know John was saying if we had that goal, it would have been different. I think it would have been different because that would have been bang, the spark. Then they would have been trying more stuff. But it shouldn't take the goal. You should be wanting to, you know, doing it anyway. And I think it's a confidence thing. That's what I do think it is. I do think it's a confidence thing. But it's going to take someone to play it out. Because even when I think back to that City game, it took Tobin to pick up that ball, blast it in the top corner. Bang, that's it. The game's changed. And we went and get a draw, could have won it. But I think we'll just sit back, defend. Sorry for swearing as well, guys, but that's how much it annoys me. Sit back, defend, and, you know, try and make it perfect instead of just, boom, bit of risk, bit of fire, bit of passion. I'm not saying that I've not got passion. I'm not saying I'm not trying, but you just need to just forget what he's saying in the final third and just go do it. Boom. You know, I remember hearing Casey say, pass the ball to LJ. That's what she said. Pass it to her and just go. You don't need to coach it because, like you said, they're good enough. They can do it. Just pass to the ball. They just passed. That's what it is. Tuni just passed the ball to Leslie. She just ran bang top corner. Sometimes you just need a bit of that. Just pass the ball, run. You can do it. Cross it. You know. Don't need to think on the final third.
I wonder if they're half worried from the mistakes against Chelsea. You know, the playing out. And I mean, obviously that was at the back and we're talking the front, but do you know what I mean? I wonder if they've gone cautious approach now, but I'll let Connor speak.
Well, I've left that comment on screen. I've left that comment on screen for Connor. Obviously we got Charlie has basically said Lad, Vilda, and Jackie. That would work. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people would like that, but then obviously you're going to leave Tuni out. Stanley's done well since she's been there, and Zelem's not going to be dropped. So I guess what I'm saying to you, Connor, is no matter what midfield three we've put out, sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't work. Sometimes the fans will be happy, sometimes they won't be happy. I guess do we just need to be in a position where no matter what three we put out, kind of just get behind him and hope that Skinner kind of knows what he's doing and he's doing it for a reason, because no matter what he puts out, some's going to like it, some aren't, I guess.
But yes, I mean you got to have, but no, like I said earlier, no player is devoid of criticism. That goes for Zelem, that goes for Jackie, that goes for Borisa, Lad, Galton, Russo, Tuni, all of them. No one is above criticism. If you're having a poor game, you're having a poor game. Skinner just needs to pick the players that he believes can win that game. And when it's not, and this is what I said earlier in the season about the midfield 3, 4, whatever you want to call it. He was never going to change a midfield that was winning. When we were winning, you know, we had Leicester, Reading, Birmingham. It was working at the time. Obviously, injuries have played a part, but now it's not working so much. That's when you got to change it. Why not try Lad, Jackie, and Tuni? Why not try Lad, Borisa, and Tuni, or Borisa, Zelem, and Tuni? Like, you just pick the three that is going to win you that game. Now, and this is what I said, he's got more than enough midfielders to rotate. The only one that is an absolute certainty to start is Ella Toon right now, because you cannot drop her, because there's no player in our team at the moment. Russo is probably my closest pick to her, and obviously the fullbacks. But she's the one that is a guaranteed start. So you've got two positions there, unless you play a different formation that needs to be filled. So Lad, for me, has to go in because she is an actual 6 and probably the only one that I've seen this year that can actually play a 6. And this is our big problem. Matt hit nail on the head earlier when he's talking about when we pass it around the back four. And the big problem, I said this in my fan cam earlier, the big problem against Arsenal, the two midfielders almost lost confidence, I felt, because they were giving the ball away a lot, especially Katie. I felt like the confidence dropped and they didn't want the ball. And I said this a few weeks ago about players marking themselves out of the game. Both of the midfield two didn't drop to pick the ball up because they were probably nervous of picking the ball up, making a misplaced pass, and the crowd getting on their back then. And that's a problem. And that's where you change it. That's where you look to Mark and go, right, Bo Reese is on the bench. Let's bring her on. It's not a criticism of players on the pitch as such. If they're not playing well, you get pulled off, and then you'll get your chance in the next game or the game after, whatever. They're all good midfielders. We don't have a bad midfielder in that group. You just rotate it, use your squad. You know, it might be Lad, Tooney, Bo Risa one week, and then Lad, Jackie, Bo. You know, you just rotate it. You know, there's 5 or 6 quality midfielders in there. Let's mix it around a bit because, you know, you're gonna have to use a squad for the whole season. So let's
This was the
rotate
same with Casey though. She wouldn't change it, and you know, early first, Tooney was on fire, and she just wouldn't play her. She was persistent, and it's like we got the. If anything, I was saying before, the different styles of managers, it's like they're the same in this respect. Like you say, when it's winning, do what you want. When you're not, you need to change it up. And especially in that second half, should have made the sub earlier. I don't care who you trust, make the sub because one set of midfielders was the winning midfielders. They're on the bench. So there you go, game changers. Why is he not doing it? I don't know. And I know that there's a comment why won't he drop Zellum? I think Zellum, the criticism of her is over the top. But I think, you know, like you say, everyone's a good midfielder in there. So get everyone getting minutes, get everyone getting time. If Bo Reese needs to adapt to it, get her on when it's maybe, like you say, they're not dropping deep enough. Get her on earlier to try and change the game. Because I actually think the 5 minutes that I did see, I liked. You know?
Yeah.
So imagine what she would have done in 15, 20. Makes no sense.
I agree with what Nat was saying, and it's not about. I know certain people, like not necessarily us, but other people do have like favorite. It's not about that. It's about, like I said earlier, it's about Mark picking a team that wins that game. There's going to be games where you're going to see Zellum, Lad, Tooney, like I said earlier, Bo Risa, Jackie, and you're going to see different. Well, what we should be doing is seeing different partnerships. Like I said earlier, no player is above criticism. I do think some certain players have had too much criticism laid at their door, and that there is. You know, that element again we won't get into too much, but like I said, if it's not working, there's no harm in changing it. Like, you know, and this is, like I said, those two in midfield looked so devoid of confidence because, you know, rightfully so. We're fans. We're going to be passionate on the sidelines. Every time there was a misplaced pass, we were getting on their back. And as a player, especially at LSV, because they can hear what we're saying most of the time, you know, you're very close to the pitch. That must, and it was so. Go and watch the game back. Watch about 50 minutes onwards. Those two midfield did not want the ball. They were going and standing next to Arsenal player and following Arsenal players around. It's very obvious to see. It's very clever, actually, marking yourself out of the game. It happens more than people think because they're not confident enough to pick the ball up, which is fine. That's why you have a squad and you bring someone like Bo Risa on around 50, 60 minutes. I'll stop ranting now.
Can I just quickly add to that, John?
Yeah,
I think it's spot on. You know, like you say, I've still said this and I still stick by it. These are our best central midfield options that we've had in 4 years ever. And to not use them all for me is criminal, you know. But we're talking about criticism. I think certain player that we all know gets the most stick, and I think this is because of Mark's reluctance to change it. You know, I don't think she'd get half the stick if she was dropped and he said, right, just have a bit of time out, recuperate, gather yourself back together or whatever, you know, performance-wise, and then look. You know, I think it was last year Casey dropped her and then brought her back, you know. Like we've all talked about, nobody's undroppable, nobody's above criticism, but to have so many options or to have some options and not rotate, you know, even before Jackie was injured, you know, she was in and then, you know, Bo Risa didn't get a look in at all. Hayley Ladd, we thought, disappeared. And it's like, you know, why haven't we just tried something different? Because you don't know until you try. And then it leads to, you know, if he says, well, they're not used to the league. Well, they're never going to get used to the league if they're playing 5 minutes against Sweden Durham, are they? Do you know what I mean? So I think the whole lot, the midfield for me at the minute is what's losing us the games, personally. I mean, people will probably say it's the goals, which it is, but I just think because there's nothing in the midfield linking defence to attack and midfield to attack, it's falling apart. And I think if you look again, and I said this for the first 20 minutes on Wednesday, the gap between defence and midfield, and it happened again on Sunday, was about 4 yards, if that. They literally sat on top of them. And I just think expand that. It's all good packing it out. But this is sometimes when we've had the ball, it's like, you know, get off the feet. You're standing on them, move out the way and expand the pitch. And yeah, I just think that's something we need to look at. But it's a process, isn't it? We can't have everything all at once. It's going to take time.
I was 30 people watching, so if you are new, we have got an Instagram account as well where Matt and a few others, Nat and people Gareth just put Gareth as well, put some match day content on there. So, you know, follow us on there as well. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about our league position, and then we'll jump into quotes from what Skinner was talking about regarding investment. I really want to get into that as well. Just a little brief thing from every one of us then, just regarding our league position. So, we're sixth, but only 3 points off Champions League. So me being the more positive one in the fan base, I'm looking at it as, we're 1 win away from Champions League. It's still in our hands. Still got Brighton, West Ham, all these teams to play. So I still see it as, fairly comfortable. I think at the start of the season with all the loss of the players that we had, change of manager. If you had said it's in our hands, top 3 at this stage, we're only 1 game away. It's not the end of the world for me. So I'm looking at it more of 3 points away from top 3. I'm still seeing City as one of our closest rivals. I'm not particularly looking at West Ham or Brighton, Tottenham potentially, but they've shown that they can slip up. I just want to hear from you guys, and obviously everyone in the comments as well. Is anyone worried about the league position? Are people looking at it? Oh, 6th, that's nowhere near 3rd. Or are you looking at it a bit like me, where it's only 1 game away? Nat, start off for yourself.
Yeah, I'm looking at it like you, John. For me, I think these last 2 performances that we've had have been quality. Yes, we lost. It sounds weird saying it. Obviously we lost, but it's still been good. We could have won that game. We've touched on it, but I think we've seen what we've wanted to see from it. We've seen width. Yes, we need to be more direct, but it's a process. It's going to get there. So for me, I had people messaging me yesterday or today, I can't remember, going, "Oh, but we're 3 points off the bottom," and I'm thinking to myself, this is the same BS that they were all chatting, saying how we were going to finish 11th and this team Leicester's going to finish above us and look at what Villa are doing and all this BS that they came out with at the start. And now because we're 6th, it means nothing. City were 9th. Now they're, I don't even know, 2 points behind us and they're celebrating, It makes no sense. It's obvious who's gonna. I mean, I think even if you look at it, yes, Spurs did well. They did well versus us. They did well versus Arsenal, but then they just got beat by West Ham. Makes no, For me, I think Vicky posted it before. I said it's way up the top. But the game that I'm worried about, and I've said it from the start, I'm not worried about Arsenal. I was a bit, I was worried about it coming into like the City and the Arsenal. I'm not worried about Arsenal. I'm worried about Brighton away. And people might think, what do you mean? Oh, Brighton, blah, blah, blah. No, this is the games where, it basically lost us Champions League last year, this game, Brighton away. And, I don't want them coming in with low on confidence. I mean, even Tobin and Kristen used to say, they talked about, this group used to talk about how last year this happened. Forget about last year. In a way, they're right. Let us talk about, last year and Brighton, but I don't want them to feel like I feel worried about it, because if you look at it on paper, we're better than Brighton, we're better than Spurs, we're better than West Ham. So I'm not worried about Brighton and all this, but I know what they can bring. They're a good side. They they're not sitting where they're sitting for no reason, especially Spurs, because they've played nearly enough teams as we have. But I'm not worried. And I know Jackie's saying City have the momentum. What? Because they beat Villa. Come on, man. Be serious. Villa aren't. I love Wardy, but they're not anything. Come on. We beat City. We should have the momentum, And I think the last 2 performances, for me, we've got the momentum. And Brighton have just lost. I don't know who it was against, but they just lost Reading. And we beat Reading quite comfortably. So I know they were away or whatever, but still. These girls say we go to Brighton. It's like a bloody home game. So that's what it's about. It's about getting behind them all the way to the end. Because, I was in the period. I was worried. And this is what I don't like: international breaks. That's another thing. That's an issue. Come back for them. We don't look the same team. Too many. But that's another show.
Yeah, I think on the left or after that.
I think from my point of view, the one thing maybe if there was a worry in the league table, we're still on a minus goal difference. If that's going to come into play, come the end of the season. I think the positive though, we've got Leicester after the international break, should put some past them. And Nat's talking about confidence. That should build on some confidence that we've currently got. Go put some past Leicester, then we go away to Brighton. And we've got 5 WSL games that are winnable. Brighton, Villa, West Ham, Birmingham, Spurs. Birmingham and Spurs both being at home. If we can get 5 wins out of those, then the table doesn't look too bad now, but you think where we could be then, beating teams around us, and obviously, Birmingham a bit further and Villa a bit further down, but we can rack up 5 wins there, get through the Conti. Like I said, we've got Leicester and Everton to go in those as well. The league position will start to take shape now. I do agree. I think what you're saying, John, I think City are going to be closest. I think the league usually starts to take shape around February, March time, so we'll see where we are then. I said, rack up 5 wins, get to the end of January. It'll probably start to break away then. You'll see the teams that have still got it. If Spurs and Brighton have still got it, they'll still be there. It's still all to play for. It's like I keep saying to people that, bring up last season. We went from 1st to 4th last season. Injuries played a big part in that, but it can happen. You can drop. Fans of last season like yourselves, I bet you didn't expect to see us drop that low last year. But so things can change. I just want us to. I said it on my fan club. I want us to see us go on a winning run now. Forget draws. Let's go on a winning run. Let's rack up 5 wins, 7 including the Conti, and the confidence because we got Arsenal and City after that huge games will be sky high. I agree with what everyone's saying. Brighton away, Villa at home. It's important. It's as important as the Spurs and Everton ones a few weeks ago. Every game's a huge game now.
Matt, your thoughts on this one before we move on to Skinner defending himself?
Yeah, I mean, listen, like sort of, has been said, we're not far off top 3, and it's one of them where I think I wouldn't say lucky, but it's fortunate that we are quite close, after a couple of draws that shouldn't have really been draws and a loss. Like I said before, we're sitting here 6 games without a win, but that said, we're still in touching distance of Champions League. Yes, we're sort of not far off the bottom, but listen, we're not going to be at the bottom, let's be brutally honest. People can waffle all this mid-table rubbish. But I think, you look at it, people talking about City's momentum. Now, barring City playing Birmingham, they've got Reading, Brighton, Villa, Chelsea, Arsenal. So that in itself, Connor was talking about 5 wins. We get our 5 wins. They've got Chelsea, Arsenal, Brighton, where they could potentially drop points. Then they're back down there behind. So it's not time to panic. I think come back, and like I say, we're lucky it's Leicester after the international break. Come back, get the win there. That gives you confidence, or it should do. If we get something at Brighton and we end the Christmas break with wins at Brighton and Villa, then it's a different story again, and you're still in touch and distance. I don't think Spurs will last, personally. And like Natalie said, they are beatable. Brighton have been beaten. I think Brighton, for me, have got more of a chance of sustaining something than Spurs have. I think Spurs will eventually sort of not fade away massively, but they'll sort of drop off. But I just think, it's sort of crucial that we can pick up what we need to now and then look at it in January. And obviously, you mentioned you're going to get onto quotes and things and squad depth, but, even 1 or 2 additions in January, again, can change a season depending on who we sign and who's available. But it's one of them, it's not great. It's not what we expected, but it's not the worst position. We could be a hell of a lot worse. We could be 6-7 points behind Brighton and West Ham. And then I'd be like, peed, I actually tipped West Ham to be sort of 2nd, 3rd bottom. So I'm actually surprised, but fair play to them. So, it's not panic time yet. I think just see what happens. Brighton's the big one. I think if we fail to pick up 3 points there or any points at all, then we can maybe say, well, actually, it's been a bad start to the season. But I think just at the minute, let's just focus on beating what's in front of us and taking it sort of 1 game at a time for me.
Awesome. We're going to get into what Skinner said after the game. We've probably all seen the quotes and seen the little post-match interview. I actually read it on Catherine Batch's article, so if you haven't seen that, I'm sure I've retweeted it, and if I haven't, I think Nat's quote tweeted it as well. So please check that one out, because I do find it really interesting as well. He's doing something that I wanted him to do. He's kind of defending himself. So I know we spoke about this at the start of the show, but he's come out now and he says that he wants investment. That's basically what he was saying. He says that we have talented players, but not enough of them. He says that he wants us to invest to be where we want to be. Expectations are high, but we have to be realistic. He was saying that the expectations need to be high, but at the moment we need to be realistic. So he's kind of saying the things that I'm happy with. Nat, I'll bring you in on this one. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I'm happy with it because I think we had under the last manager sort of not disagreements, but she was sort of like, it's too high. Whereas he's saying they're rightly high. These people are proud to Man United fans, and it was sort of embracing it. Whereas last time, at the start of last season, it was sort of a bit like, I mean, she couldn't really downplay it after Tobin and Thingy came in, but it was sort of like, oh, well, Spurs and West Ham. And I'm thinking, Spurs and West Ham what? You know, this is Man United. You know, I think we're seeing it with the men's side. Well, we have seen it over the years with the men's side. They don't back them enough. You can't say, though, that's what people don't understand. You can't say that Casey wasn't backed, though. She got Tobin and Kristen Press, for God's sake. So she was backed. She's signed other players for fees, so she was backed. It's just that a lot of the players, the better players that she's brought in, are frees. A lot of players are free transfers. That's what people need to realise in the women's game. Just because we're bringing in a free transfer doesn't mean they're not a good player. And, you know, the players that Casey's brought in, people are sort of not overly, you know, excited over. You know, Martha Thomas, Aoife Mannion. Aoife's done great. I think even Martha's done great. It's just that it's the fitness issue potentially over her. You know, I think even when LJ went, there was like, why aren't we getting like a Wrighton or this? But Blundell's been one of the standout players, so you can't say. And he's actually been what we needed, an attacking fullback. But he's right. We need strikers now. We need forwards. We need. I think it was something that I said. We went to Scotland. If Leo Hansen, you know, I said if they got injured, but if they're off form, which they are, where's the wingers? Oh, a 19-year-old Fuso and an 18-year-old Kerry Jones. That's what we've got. So no wonder he's probably not bringing them on, because he doesn't want them to have that pressure. Like you say, they make a mistake, they're crying. You don't want that. Yeah, of course you don't. You want to bring them in when they've got that time. And I'm here, my guy, come on before, and I know you're going to go back down. But listen, City have their full strength squad back. But then City invested. They got Rasso. They got the other girl. They got Bunny Shaw. They got Ellen White still. So for me, I think with City, David, it's a bit deeper than. And we had Emma on, so go and check out that show. For them, I think it's a bit deeper than the depth that they have, because they have depth. Yes, Bronze and the other girl will make a difference, but it's a bit more deeper there, mate. I think you're barking up the wrong tree with us. But the name, I'm going to just link it, John, the name that everyone wanted, that we were, it's been confirmed when Rich came on, we're linked to her. For me, there it is. Go out and get it. Why not? Free transfer, sort of put it all out that she wants to come. I know we're going to do shows about Spanish talent, Australian talent, but for me, if you were linked to her, go get her. Second in the thing, top goal scorer at the Olympics, can score goals for fun. I think we are in the chat for her. So for me, I think it's sealed the deal now. You know, it's talking to City here in the chat for her as well. But then they've got White, Bunny, Black Steniers. You know, where's anyone going to get games? I think, you know, we should be, if we're serious, you know, Glazers and all this. That's what he's saying. He's calling out them. He's calling out John Murter. Come on. Let's do it. Are you serious about women's football? If we're serious, look at Harder, because even that's what he name dropped, Harder, Kerr. They were never in the league before, but now people are serious. So if you want to be serious and win trophies, bang, there's your name. Go out and get it on the plate. Yeah, can't make it any easier. And then obviously, bang, bang. But we'll talk about that later. But
well, we'll have a show with that. We'll have a show with someone who can discuss that as well coming up. Connor, where do you think this has come from? Because for me, it's come out fighting a little bit here. I think he saw something yesterday, where I'm sure we heard this at the ground. It was either on the ground or in an interview where he says that we're nearly there. And people might look at us thinking, oh, nearly there. But I can kind of see what he's saying. You know, you had a couple of three talented players at the level that Arsenal or Chelsea or City have got. And I know it's not that easy that they're going to come to us. I get that. But there are players out there that we have been speaking to. You know, I think it's come because Skinner's now knows that it's November, things are happening in January, words getting around. I think something's in the pipeline. I don't know how far along it is, but I think it's on his mind because it's not happened before. He might have had a conversation this week about transfers. I think it's on his mind. So for him to come suddenly see that with that Arsenal performance, I think it's come out and I think it's great. But Connor, what do you think this has come from?
There's a couple of points on that. I mean, you can go back to my fan cam. I think it was after Birmingham or Leicester. It was very early on in the season. And I said, You know, because as people know, I've only really watched this year, and I said straight away, this team, it looks very good, but it's not quite there. It looks like full potential wise, it's so close, and it's interesting now that Skinner's obviously coming out now and saying, and it is, you know, we competed with Arsenal for 45, 50 minutes in that game. Now let's Arsenal are a better team than us. I think that Matt made the point earlier that you just look at Arsenal's bench compared to ours. Like Nat said, you're relying on an 18 and a 19-year-old with not too much WSL experience to come on and change and win you the game against top of the league Arsenal right now. Whereas, you know, you're looking at the players that Arsenal could bring on. It's ridiculous. So it's interesting that he chose this weekend to bring it up, you know, with everything that's happened with the men's side, you know, with Ollie going as well. It's interesting that it's come out now that he's publicly, and it's not like he's come out and, you know, it's in a press conference that people aren't going to watch. It's straight after an Arsenal defeat at home where people are going to watch it. The eyes, you know, so many people watching on BBC. I know it wasn't on BBC, but people, you know, that are interested in the game kind of. So it's interesting he's chosen now. Whether he gets it, I'm not too sure. It goes back to the $100 million question. Do the Glazers and the people on the board care enough about the women's side to put the investment that's needed in to bridge the gap almost to the top 2-3 if you count City? Now, I've always had my reservations that I feel like the women's side just gets dragged along with whatever the men's side want. I don't think the board maybe have the same ambition as us fans do for the women's side. I think that's probably obvious to anyone. But it goes back to what you said, John. Has there been conversations, you know, this past kind of couple of weeks? Does he know something that going into January that he's going to get some of the players that he wants, and that's why he's saying it now
and wants to see our reaction? Sorry, Connor. He either knows that he's getting someone, or he's fighting for it, and he wants people to talk about it. And he wants something. He wants that momentum, that red wave there.
I'm going to just jump in and you can jump back in, kind of say it. But I said to him after the game, I said, make it quicker. And he was like, yeah. And I said to him, we are so close. And that's when he said to me, we need more. And I said, January. And that's when he was just like, boom, it's that, you know? And then Blackstenius, Eva, shouting over names. You know, I don't know if he knows, but we're doing videos all the time, and whether it's people see it, but everyone knows transfer rumours come through everything that we hear, you know, and we've even heard little things, you know, when Rich dropped about Blackstenius, bang, breaking news, let's go, we're ready. And I know someone said before, we might have bad news. Yeah, we might have bad news, but is that sort of a kind of player? That's the kind of player that you want, you know? You want that kind of top calibre of striker, you know, to come in. Leslie, yes, is number one, but, you know, when Leslie maybe is having a bad time or whatever, switch it. Leslie's still young as well. Switch it, get in someone who's got the experience, who's got Champions League experience, who's going to score goals. And then, is he fighting for her and City have come in and gazumped them? You know, something probably simple like that. And he's thinking, these people aren't serious. That's what I think anyway. But yeah, Connor, Matt.
Yeah, it goes back to your question, John. I think it can go one or two ways. Either he's had a conversation and he's not getting the players he wants, and that's why he's come out saying we need investment. It's almost like a cry to the board. Jose did it obviously on the men's side. He came out publicly and said, I need players. So whether it's that, or does he know that he's getting the players and he's saying we're close, and almost to the fans like, just wait until January. You know, we're close. We're going to get the players, and you'll see a different, you know, a better United moving forward. It literally can flip either way. And what people are saying, you know, about a striker, I agree. If we get a striker, Russo is at the moment our number one, but she can move to the right. You know, she can play on the wing. We've seen her this year. Stick her out on the right. Hansen maybe drops out or Galton drops out, whatever. But then look at the bench you can bring on then. You've got players on the bench you can look at and bring on. And that is the difference between us and the top two at the moment. When things aren't going well for us, we're relying on youngsters to come and change the game. Chelsea and Arsenal have got experienced top players that they can bring on to change a game. And I think that is what is costing us in these kind of times. Because if you get to 50 minutes and 60 minutes and we're still in the game against Arsenal and you look to the bench and you've got experienced top, like that bench, I said it to you, John, against City midweek. Look at the bench we had. You had Galton, Russo, and Toon coming off the bench. Yeah, that's the kind of players we need coming on. Or maybe, you know, you don't need a full bench of world-class players like Chelsea. But if we had three of those players coming off the bench in a WSL game against Arsenal, let's say, that's when you can really start to compete and you can start going a full season competing. So I don't know. His comments can literally be interpreted either way. Is he going to get the backing or not? I really don't know, to be honest.
Matt, do you want to give your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think it obviously needs something, doesn't it? Something's got to change, whether it's, bringing somebody in Jan or the board backing him. We can't, for me, we can't plough on the rest of this season without at least bringing in one player in Jan. I think whether that's a forward or a centre half, I think we've got to go all out to bring in at least one for me. But yeah, I just think even if we did bring in a forward, I think what needs to change is, like I said, get rid of the lone forward. Why can't we play somebody alongside Alessia? When Martha Thomas is back, why do we not often see a 2? Why is it always a 1? It's great bringing in a forward, but if you're just going to be isolated again, it's the same problem. It doesn't matter whether they're, world class or, just sort of below that. I think there needs to be a whole change. And if he gets backed and he gets what he wants, then I'd like to think that maybe he would change. And then we do have options, because I think Natalie mentioned before, she said, Casey was very rigid and not a lot changed, and it didn't. But that was her, for me, being stubborn, whereas I think Mark's kind of maybe, after that sort of cry for help, if you want to call it that, he's maybe plugging the gaps and going with what he's got for now. And then if we can get a forwards in, who knows, we might literally go 4-1-3-2, which would be, in my mind, would be ideal. We might change, we might not, but I just think, we need to, we've got to go for something. If you don't go for it, I was talking to a chairman a couple of weeks ago, and this club are near the bottom and they're chucking 60, 70, 80 grand on wages. And I'm thinking, well, bloody hell, if they can do it, why can't we? They're, in my view, they're overpaying, but that's not for me to say. If he wants to pay that to his players, that's fine. But this is a club we're talking, lower end. So I think for me, if you're being backing properly, and, let's go all out. I think people are pretty much saying similar in the comments, but, you've got to do it. You can't just scrape by with freebies and, West Ham cast-offs or whoever, Spurs rejects or Everton's had teams or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Go on, Nat.
Amy Rusky, I don't know if I said her name right. Amy basically pushed this question on him. So I think we promoted her podcast about what Ebony said. But anyway, Amy pushed it. I've retweeted it. If you can't find it, come at me. But he said we need 2 windows. January, he says we're going to try in January. For me, try isn't good enough. You should be going out and getting it. If he wants a striker, get it. If it's Blackstenius, why haven't we already signed her? So try isn't good enough. Get the players that he wants. And if we're not getting it, get a second player. I think for me, 2 players in January. I know Matt said 1, but I think a winger and a forward I would like to see. And then you sort out the centre-backs and thing. But he said we need 2 transfer windows. So he said January and summer, and then we'll see a difference in this team. So he's obviously maybe been promised something. He's on the way to it. But I do think what you're saying, John, because we know we're in for Blackstenius. It's a well-known secret. Coming back for her, people saying, "Oh, we don't know if we're going." No, we are going back for her. I'm telling you now. But City are going in for her as well. Chelsea are probably going in for her. Barcelona, Real Madrid. Everyone's going in for her. She just made the shortlist of the best player in top players in the world. So these are the players that we want to compete with Arsenal. So let's go and get them. Why haven't we got them already? For me, it's simple what they need to do.
I just wanted to mention that we spoke about this backstage as well. I think, obviously, at the moment, there's only really John Mercer that gets involved in the women's side. Now, obviously, at the moment, if you're Sporting United, you're well aware, obviously, what's going on the men's side. Just sacked Ollie, so they'll be looking for an interim manager, maybe a permanent manager. They're going to be promising them transfers and these kinds of things. Is that going to be a distraction, pulling the likes of John Murto and people that are going to be in these negotiations away from the women's side and focusing more on the men's? Because we all know that's the cash cow at the moment for United. Is that going to drag the important people in the boardroom away? I don't know.
Is that why Mark said it at the time that he did?
So, yeah.
So now he's worried because John's not got his back. John's head's turned. Are you going to finish this deal? But this is where they need their own people. They need more people that actually care, not just someone, But we've had these conversations about people that are there and the board, and it's not for, you know, and even the men's side probably say it even, you know, all for United, the men's side say it even more, you know, but it's affecting the women's team, and I think that's what affected it. You know, Ollie doing his deals for Ran and all this, yeah, it's great for the men's, but then we were still there without a manager, you know.
Director of football and that, we talked about it. I did one saying Chivy, that's probably gone now, but something like that, like I said, it's more people that you know when you say, I want this player, they're going to get it done. You look at other clubs and you look and they have a chairman, a general manager, chief exec, and between the 3 or 4 of it, that's specifically for the women's team. They're now to do with the men. And then they say, right, okay, you want this, here's the money, here's what we can get, bang, job done.
These quotes have set us up nicely for the next couple of months. It wasn't just quotes; it was a full-on conversation that he had, and it come out of nowhere. So for me, I'm really looking forward to see what happens.
For me, start tweeting the main account, not the Man United men, the women, with all your players. Eva, Stina, flood it. Say people want it, man. We know transfer season. It's on. That's what he said. It's on. So flood the names. Tell us new names. We don't care.
I've had a better idea. Just write your transfer lists and we'll hand them out.
Hand them over, yeah. Yeah, we'll give it to Mark.
Give you a piece of paper here. Have that.
Yeah. Flood it. Make sure everyone sees it, you know? Not just to Mark, to everyone.
We've extended the show tonight just because we had so much to talk about. We never got a chance to talk about Tony and Cammy, but we didn't want to rush over it, so we'll mention that on the next show with their contract extensions. We really need to start talking about those. Match planned for the rest of the week?
Yeah, got another player with me tomorrow. Myself and Get Pro Academy, John, talking a little bit of everything. This one's quite interesting. Obviously, we had to pre-record it due to commitments of the player. But, we've sort of talked about this. Is kind of sort of linked into Man United values in terms of academy. You know, it's about sort of getting girls into football, but like an elite level. So those that maybe drop out of, say, a Chelsea or an Arsenal academy, you know, where did they go from there and where can stuff be developed? A little bit of everything. It's actually a really good show. There was lots on it. Like I say, you know, lots on the player. And this player was somebody that captained London City Lionesses last year. Has now moved to Watford. Talks about her journey of sort of juggling part-time football, and obviously I think she said she started off at Arsenal, and she obviously, we know what it's like with Arsenal, and they don't tend to promote youth, and she was sort of saying, like, bouncing back mentally from that disappointment, you know, where'd you go, and are these clubs checking in on you, you know, once you just left? And the answer was no, to sort of cast aside. So it was a really interesting insight. So 7 p.m. tomorrow, have a look at that and check out sort of, you know, what's being said. Obviously Wednesday, Natalie's got Emma and Ben Gilby talking the Aussie League. Thursday, you've got your Spanish show, Superstars in Spain. Can we find
we
any?
Can link them. We can link both those shows to transfer season. Don't worry. So definitely check it out. Any names that you want to know about Australian or Spanish.
That's it. Give a shout. Good. Potential gems there. I mean, we found one Spanish show. You know, if there's any more, let's have a look. Then, yeah, obviously, you got Fans Forum and Anthony's show Friday. Saturday, me and Ben. And I think Sunday, a couple of us on the road. Am I right with that? Well, you are, John.
I'm on the road to work, but we might have
Sunday. I thought you was going to Stourbridge.
I wish, mate. I wish. No, unfortunately.
Oh, John, you've killed. Well,
mate,
I'll be on the road.
That's what I'm going to say. Like this
I think I'm coming with you, Matt. FC
right.
Durham.
Yeah, that's it. 2 of us are on the road going to the tip known as Durham. I'll say that. Sorry if you're from Durham and you're watching.
Yeah, still like the video.
It is what it is. But yeah, well, some of us will be on the road anyway.
Brilliant show tonight. Pretty much over 30 people watching up until like last 10 minutes where it's just dropped a little bit, but that's great to see, really is. And look, tune in all week and tune in all over Christmas. We've got some big things coming up, so just keep watching every night. Transfer
season.
See you later, guys.